Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and Amen.
Mothering Sunday began as a day when apprentices and servants would return home to visit their mothers, often taking gifts such as simnel cake or flowers. Although not all mothers are wonderful by any means, motherhood is a painful privilege. Two little girls, well up on today's technology, were playing together, and one of them said to the other, "I'm never going to have babies. They take 9 months to download." Mothers give and ask nothing in return, and will do incredible things to defend their children. When the prophet Hosea wanted to depict the fierce anger of God, he described him as a mother bear defending her cubs. When I think of my mum, breakfast cereals, clocks and tea towels always come to mind. Before I went to boarding school, she always insisted I ate something healthy first because she wanted me to grow up strong. And often with my dad being away, I tried her patience numerous times. But my mum did teach me anticipation. Just wait until your father gets home. And logic. When that lawnmower cuts off your toes, don't come running to me. And finally, tea towels. Before dishwashers were affordable, after tea, I usually dried the dishes. No, it wasn't that bad really, but we all had to chip in and help around the house, because my mother wanted me to learn that a happy family is one that works together. But mothering is not just a job for women, or even just for parents, but is for everyone to do. Mother Teresa never had a child of her own, but was a mother to thousands of poor children in India. When Jesus was a boy, the whole family, and in fact the whole community, would be involved in caring for children. In the Gospel, his mother Mary loses him, but she wasn't a bad mother. She wasn't careless. She assumed, the text tells us, that he was in the group of travellers. It was simply that lots of families from one place would have gone to Jerusalem together every year in order to celebrate the Passover, and the children would have played safely amongst the whole group as they travelled there and back. My own mum sometimes shares stories with me from her childhood, stories about how safe it was for her to play outside in the streets where neighbours looked after one another. Sadly, this isn't reality today, and it's hard to find that sort of care between different families today. Families are much more isolated, no thanks to coronavirus and lockdowns, and we probably don't really know our neighbours all that well. At 12 years old, Jesus was considered an adult, and because of the closeness of the community, his parents assumed he was with other pilgrims returning from the festival, so they didn't start looking for him until the evening. And when they couldn't find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him there. And Mary and Joseph search frantically for their son and are amazed upon discovering him in the temple, talking with the religious teachers. And Mary cries out, she says, "Son, why have you done this to us?" Although Mary knew the true identity of Jesus, she thought she was looking for a boy, not the young man talking to these great rabbis, astounding everyone with his wisdom. She had to let go of her child and let him become God's son, the Messiah. And it's here that we hear Jesus' voice for the first time, when he speaks of his identity. "Why did you need to search? You should have known that I would be in my Father's house." There are mixed emotions seeing our children or grandchildren grow into adults, but when the time comes, we must step back and let go in spite of the pain. And Mary didn't understand this at the time, but the text implies increasing understanding on her part, for as Jesus grew from a boy into a man, into the likeness of God, she stored all these things in her heart. and she eventually accepted his earthly mission and would painfully realise what that would involve. She saw him arrive as her baby son, and she watched him die as a man on the cross, Jesus Christ crucified for the sins of the world. In the words of Jesus found in Luke chapter 2 verse 49, we come to the very heart of who he is, the Son of God who loved to be in his Father's house. Worship was important to Jesus. 18 or so years later, when he was tempted in the wilderness, he affirmed his commitment to worshipping God, replying to Satan, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve only him. He's growing up, as all mortals must, and in the process he scares his parents half to death, as all children do. But we also see Jesus fully divine, with everyone amazed at his understanding. And we hear Jesus declaring his unique relationship with God the Father, as only the Son can do. But the Bible is also capable of using feminine descriptions of masculine persons. And I think it's perfectly reasonable sometimes to see God not as a mother as such, but in terms of motherhood. When Jesus weeps over Jerusalem, he desires to gather her children as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. And centuries earlier, the pre-incarnate Christ had told Isaiah pretty much the same thing. As one whom his mother comforts, so I, God, will comfort you. And it's because of the Easter victory that we too are mothered and reassured under heavenly wings. And I close with the words of Julian of Norwich, one of the most wonderful of all Christian voices, and someone who spoke of God's love being like that of a nurturing mother. A mother's caring is the closest, nearest, and surest, for it is the truest, and our true mother Jesus, who is all love, bears us into joy and endless living. Blessed may he be. So this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.